Thank you very much, gentlemen. Great cast on the day. I am joined by Big from Echo Fox after their win over Impulse in a fantastic game. I got to ask you, man, it's been a long time coming. Echo Fox is showing so great right now. How does it feel to actually have all of this be shown to the fans now from what you guys tried to put together?
It feels great actually having a full roster and showing what we're capable of doing instead of just playing with subs every week.
Well, you guys are definitely putting a lot of variation into the mix. There's some Corky there, now Gangplank, definitely switching things up. But I want to focus on you because when you switch things up, there needs to be great shot calling in the team, and we have definitely heard that you are a vocal person on this team. I got to ask you, Big, what actually makes you a shot caller? Why did you want to be one, or how did you fall into that role?
I didn't really want to be the shot caller. I was kind of forced into a role a couple years back. So I just learned to be better at it, and you just gotta be confident in your calls. When someone makes a call besides you, you have to take into consideration how well that call is. And at the end of the day, it's all about you.
Well, you guys have definitely been working that out and finding where to iron out any of the wrinkles. Final question for you. Everything's been going well, but next week is a tough one. Immortals and Team Solo Mid. How will you guys prepare?
I think we're gonna prepare the same way we always do. We'll just try our best, try to see what's our highest chance to win is, and go from there.
Well, you guys have the longest winning streak, not named Immortals right now, so congratulations. Hopefully you guys can keep it up for the fans. We're going to throw it over to the analyst desk to break down the rest of that game.
Thank you very much, Riv. It's great to hear from Big. Actually, it's very interesting, that point that he never really wanted to be a shot caller, and yet he is one. But diving into this, let's start with Champion Select, because we saw a very interesting composition come out from Echo Fox. We had the Kale ban yesterday, had the opportunity to play it today, and they went for it.
Yeah, Echo Fox really had a solid comp this game. They had Alistar and Gragas as a front line, and if you dove their back line, they had Kale and they had Engage. They just had everything you wanted in a comp, and it really supported Keith and Froggen's way of carrying.
Yeah, I really am happy that Kale is sort of making her way back in. I was brokenhearted when they changed the Devour so that Jungle Kale was no longer a thing.
I remember those days in the office.
Yeah, but solo lane, she gets to her items really quickly, because even though everyone's like, oh, the late game of Kale and the scaling of Kale are so amazing, her full item builds come really quickly because she does need a lot of the items, but they're all fairly cheap. These are not maximum price items. They're all these sort of pseudo end game items where a lot of them are mostly attack speed based and on hit base. And as they said multiple times, works really well with Fervor now. And so he definitely gets to be that big threat in the back line. The only problems that really ever arise for Kale are when she's facing a lot of hard engage, and hard CC, because if you target her, she's very squishy. You can sometimes burst her down before the ultimate comes off or force her to use it on herself. But Fox, they had so much control of the battlefield. With Gangplank barrels, the threat of a giant area of the battle that is there, and then the front line that Dyrus pointed out of Alistar and Gragas is really secure.
Yeah, so I'm tipped, Dyrus. I'm in the loading screen. We've seen the Kale locked in. We as a team are now discussing in comms how we're going to beat this composition that's been put together by Echo Fox. How do we play around this specifically? What would be your advice in that situation?
So there's lots of strengths and weaknesses of Kale, and if you don't play against it often, you won't really know. So one of the big things is Kale always pushes the lane because of her E. And because of the First Blood and because Kale didn't have Flash, that actually brought up a huge opportunity for Tip to have like Poppy E, Elise E, and then maybe even have mid priority to where they push up middle and set up a tower dive before Kale hits 6. And Hard's whole goal this game is to keep Kale safe, to keep him from getting tower dove, and TIP just wants to pressure that, but we didn't really see much of that, so we weren't able to see the weaknesses, and we were able to see Kale thrive because of it.
Yeah, when we saw that First Blood go off with the Flash being burned and still dying, I was like, this top lane is in such a terrible spot. But as you said, Gragas was able to cover, and with a jungler like Elise on the enemy team, you especially think something's going to happen up there.
It was kind of strange, because with that given information, we still saw Proxen opt to start jungling on the top side of the map. So in those early minutes where he maybe could have capitalized on the flash, he forced himself into the bottom side of the map.
So I actually, when I initially saw the start, I thought that he was going to just do 3 camps on the blue side of his jungle and gank top, because Elise doesn't actually need red buff to go gank a flashless Kale. she could just get a really quick level 3, and that's actually the quickest way to gank top lane, is just to clear those 3 camps and then make your way up there. You're a couple seconds ahead since you don't have to traverse to the other quadrant of the jungle. And I thought he was still going to go up there, but ended the route on the bottom side.
I think it was really important that they set up like a jungle path and like a plan to abuse her, because right now, if they did that whole blue side, the way the wave was, Poppy was actually pushing in. So maybe if Poppy pushed in the first 2 waves and then on the cannon wave it comes back and then you look for the gank, or you try to pull the wave from the start and try to make Kayle use E. But it seems that KFO didn't push the lane at all because he knew that if he did, he would get ganked. And you know, it just worked out for him. He got lucky.
Yeah, so Kayle makes it through the early game, into the late game, and now's where I want to turn to a couple individual players on Fox. I'm going to group them together, though, Frog and Keith and Big. These guys have been putting up some pretty crazy performances that have played major roles in their 4-0 run here so far. You know, I don't really have anything to add to that. I just kind of wanted to bring those.
They get the
I kind of wanted to just,
approval?
I don't know what it was. I was like, well, maybe they'll have something to say about it, but
You're like,
they're
we've got
very good
individuals,
players.
let's group them up. Here's your package of good players. All right.
Woo! I don't know.
But honestly, okay. I got you, bro. I got you, Dash. So, Froggen, we've already gone over the amazing stats. He's going to even have better ones. I don't know exactly where he stands, but I would assume still at least near the top, if not at the top of mid laners. And transitioning into Big, he's another one that people wouldn't necessarily point out, because Keith has had these big plays where highlight plays at the end of the game, he's cleaning up. Obviously, Keith has been a huge carry for the team as well. But Big, I like you pointing him out as well, because he's been keeping Keith safe and creating a lot of plays, plus the shot calling aspect that he didn't even know was really going to be one of his main roles, and he's really thrived in under that pressure.
Really coming into his zone. Ultimately, fantastic win for Fox. They're moving to 4-0 so far, or since they've gotten their lineup back. The big question, though, as Jat mentioned, was in their last 6 games, they're going to go up against the 4 top teams in the league. We'll see what they've got for us in the coming weeks. We've got to step away for a quick break, but stick around for our match of the week, where Liquid will take a second crack at taking down Immortals. There's more league in just 3.5.
Lucian can literally suicide into them and just get ulti.
Keith,
But you
don't.
don't want to.
That's not something you want to say before a game, Kerr.
Okay, Keith, don't suicide into them. Take all of them with you.
Yep, I'll kill everyone,
5 kills.
like I did yesterday.
The Heart takes a Kayle ulti, refuses to go down, is still alive, finally! Mash with the Triforce takes him down, and there's a push in towards Dragon, picked up, there's the Heart engage! Big starts it off, and he's tanky, the first kill comes through, it's already a kill off in the gate, a second one in a period, the hammer comes down from Fang.
Poppy, no flash.
Nice, nice.
Puppy, puppy, puppy.
Okay. Poppy. I'm going. Poppy.
Baron?
Gate chunked low, the Elise in the rafters, flashed over the Baron pit, Culling tickles him at the very end of his thorax. Echo Fox making quick work of every team in front of them.